It's time for another edition of Talk to Me. And now, here's me himself, 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, Mr. Maynard Eaton.
Hello again, friends, and welcome to Talk to Me, our weekly conversation with an array of leaders and influencers in a variety of professions. The past 2 weeks, we've talked about education. This week, we join my pastor, a friend, and a megachurch senior pastor of Salem Bible Church. Salem, Dr. Williams, welcome to Talk to Me. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure. You are a legendary voice here in Atlanta. We go back a long way, and it's always a pleasure to discuss things with you. So I'm blessed to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you. As you know, Dr. Williams, you're as astute on issues as anybody I know. Today, the president talked about reopening churches. Where do you stand on that? Are you ready? Are you ready to have a pulpit full of a choir and a congregation back in the church? Is it time yet?
I feel very uneasy about that. I think that we aren't where we need to be. I think it's too soon. I think there's too much about the virus, its nature, if it's going to mutate, won't it mutate? Why is it affecting certain demographics more than others? They said it wasn't affecting children. Now it is. We're seeing connected issues with it. It's too much about this virus that professionals, medical doctors do not know for churches that basically are dense places, populated places, to reopen and to keep people safe and healthy. I just think it's too soon.
How's it impacted the church? How's it impacted Salem and some of your other colleagues? The game has changed, I imagine, huh?
The game has changed tremendously. It's impacted us in terms of you having to execute the same goal, and that's to meet the needs of God's people, to minister to people, to preach, to teach the gospel, but you have to use completely different mediums. But we're thankful that this has happened today over and against, 30, 40, even 20 years ago, where we didn't have the technology like Facebook, Instagram, streaming services that are as seamless. So we're thankful that these are the times in the days of technology where there has been a shift, but there are other impacts as well.
What is it like for you, Pastor? I've watched you. You have a 2-camera setup, but you're talking to an empty church. Is that problematic for you or disturbing to you? Unsettling at all?
It is. It's quite strange. The African-American preaching experience revolves around rhythm, call and response, as you know. So when you're preaching to a live audience, there's certain things that you may say. If the audience receives it, they'll talk back to you saying, amen, preach, I like that, or did different affirmations like that. So to not have that feedback, it throws your rhythm off, as well as to not be the receiver of the energy of people makes the preaching experience more draining, if that makes sense.
What are your members saying? Are they eager to get back? Or are you still getting the same sort of attention and commitment from your membership? Are people still joining?
Yes, they are. The people are still joining. The people are still supporting. It has been a decline in the overall finances, which we understand, but people are rising to the occasion. People are becoming more accustomed to giving by way of using technology. I think our membership, to answer your question, are excited to come back, but I think people's number one priority is the health and wellness of themselves, their families, and their community, which is in alignment with ours as leaders.
Listening to you past several Sundays, you are well aware of the problems, the pain, the sacrifice, how troubling this COVID-19 has been. Has that made your pastoring, your preaching even more important to Salem's membership?
That's an excellent question. I think, Mr. E, that this particular time, the church has never been more needed than now. Okay, wow. These are unprecedented times. People need encouragement. People need food. People need to be ministered to. People need community where they're connecting with others. People need prayer. People need support. One of the most difficult things is when people are passing away that we can't even be there by their bedside to speak the last words, to pray over them, to be at the funeral. We can't even do that. So the church is needed more now than ever.
What has COVID-19 meant to you as a health professional? I mean, you're a top-notch nutritionist, you're a holistic leader. You know health as well as you know the Bible. What's going on out here from where you sit?
My vantage point automatically causes me to look at the disparity in the African American community. We are 12 to 13% of the United States population, but we're seeing 60 to 70% based upon what periodical or research you're looking at hospitalizations and deaths. And you have to ask the question, why? And then as soon as you ask that question, you see us leading in heart disease, strokes, diabetes. The Atlanta location has 30318 has the highest rates of diabetes in the entire state of Georgia, high cholesterol. So the subject matter of COVID-19 from a health perspective causes me to immediately go towards the underlying health issues of African Americans. And it's something that we need to do as the African American community, but holistically as Americans as well. Your health is worth more to you now than it ever has been.
Sir, as I mentioned, you're in the pulpit on Sundays, but also much of your time is spent on something you've devised, founded, and preached about in terms of offering to those of us like me who partaken of it, what they call a 40-day turnip, the journey. That's right. It's a life-changing process. Could you explain it a bit, please? God knows it meant a lot to me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We're blessed to have had you, sir. The 40-day turnip is a 40-day process. It revolves around nutrition. The objective is to help people lose weight precipitously, very quickly, and safely at the same time, to lower hypertension, to reverse diabetes, and to maximize people's time on this physical plane called the earth. It is a unique way of eating that I ate, that I used on myself. We've hired a statistician to see if it worked. We tested it. As you remember, many years ago, you wrote a beautiful piece on that several years ago. And it's something I've been doing for 8 years, and we've been getting great results, low attrition rates, meaning people are able to be successful in the efforts. And the best part about it is it's been free. So that's what the 40-day turnip is.
If I'm not mistaken, you're starting one right now, or tomorrow you're in the throes of a new session, right? Is that purposely timed because of what's going on with COVID-19?
Absolutely. It was a hard pivot after the past session ended. We saw where we were, so we knew we had to use technology in a COVID-19 environment, and that's what we're doing. So we're taking the same programmatic approach, same thing. We're just using technology and going across the country to execute the process.
So rather than face-to-face like we were when I took it, we're doing it like we're doing this right now. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We're gonna maximize Facebook. We're gonna maximize Zoom conferencing, the small groups to create the accountability in the community that people need to help them. So we're just gonna use technology to execute the same vision, and we'll be able to do it with more people.
I want to pivot just a bit here about your profession. You're the son of a famous Baptist preacher, Reverend Jasper Williams Jr., who also preached Aretha Franklin's homegoing. But you've been a pastor yourself as a mega church. Where are we now? Is the church losing its grip on America, on our people, or now they're seeing how much faith and faith in Jesus Christ is needed? Where is the ministry now?
I think that the church losing its grip in society is more narrative than it is reality in many instances. Gotcha. Do I say that the church has the same power and influence as it did back during the golden days of the civil rights movement in the 60s? No, I'm not saying that. However, what I am saying is the church is still relevant. Politicians still need to come through the local pastor if they desire the constituency of those positions that they're running for. Whenever deals and then whenever ideas are released, the ideas and the opinions of the pastor still matter. You know, the African American church is still the largest industry whereby dollars are being raised, to where you're feeding people, to where you're educating people, scholarships, so on and so forth. So the church is still relevant, and this is a great opportunity for the church and for people to see just how important the church is. This is a great opportunity based upon how we respond to it collectively and how we execute during this pandemic season that we're in.
Is this a challenge for you and others of your ilk to show how important, how significant the church is and remains relevant? Is this a challenging time for you in that regard?
To me, it's not. It's been challenging having to pivot, but I have seen some of the greatest moments in my ministry during this season. I think,
wow.
I've seen a lot of other churches, not just our church, do some great work. It's forcing us to come out of the box. It's forcing us to think. It's forcing us to be uncomfortable. It's forcing us to do things like we've never done it before. And as you know, sir, that is a soup of creative masterpieces. You know, when I go to churches and I see the things that they're doing, how different it is and how it's connecting with people, this is a great time in a way.
One of Atlanta's leading pastoral voices, Reverend Warnock of Ebenezer Baptist Church, is running for the U.S. Senate. Dr. Joseph, have you ever considered running for office? Is that in your future?
I don't, you know, you never say never, but at this particular point of my life, I think I can do more because I already look upon myself as a public official, as a pastor, and representing people. You know, people have expectations of you. People are expecting you to be a good steward over dollars. All right. So on and so forth. So we're functioning in the same capacity. But I think a political position at this point of my life will mitigate what I'm trying to do from a spiritual and health type of mission at this time. But, you know, you never say never because you never know what God has for you.
But you and your father have been such major voices in the political realm. As you said, ministers ask your support, come seek support from your memberships. And your dad and you have been a voice in political matters. That's still relevant today as well, I take it.
Yes, I would think so. Yes. And it's great that is the case because, you know, I'll give you an example. Today we had free COVID-19 testing at our Salem Bible Church Atlanta location. Well, getting testing at various churches is a political process. You and I both know that, you know, so having pastors like Dad, having pastors like myself that have friends and we're able to use points of leverage like that, we were able to use that to bring a needed service to an underserved community. So politics definitely has its place, but, you know, that's how it is. And because of that, people were benefited.
On the note of politics, as you well know, Ahmaud Arbery has been in the news for weeks. You're a man of God, but also you are an activist in your own spirit. What do you make of that, sir? Where does it lead us? Where are we now? We talk about the civil rights movement, but seemingly not much has changed from my generation to yours.
Yes, it's sad times, sir. Sad times. That particular event bothered me on a level like none other. You know, you just get tired of seeing it. And it's one of those things, sir, that really only we as African American men can, it resonates with us in a way that no other demographic, including our African American sisters. Nobody knows what it feels like to be a Black male in America. It is a living embodiment of spiritual and emotional PTSD. We live it every single day. And it's sad to see our brothers being lost. And it's sad to see us knowing that only a matter of time, we're going to go back right back to where we once were. And it's sad because it's coming.
Any answer to that? Any biblical response to what's been done? You see a lot of young people and others protesting there, but is there a spiritual aspect that's needed to this as well?
Yes. What's amazing is, the first slave come in history was 1619. And here we are on the 400-year, literally, anniversary of African Americans being enslaved in this country in terms of 400 years of enslavement, so on and so forth. So I'm going somewhere because I think we're at a pendulum shift. Things have to change, and things are changing. There's a spirit that is rising, and I think that people are going to feel it before we see it. All right, but it has to be a shift in leadership. It has to be a shift in mindset. It has to be a different way of us coming together as a community in order to be and to do the things that we need to do to make these wrongs right as they need to.
Dr. Joseph L. Williams, one of the brightest ministers in the nation. Again, proud to say he's my pastor, a voice of Southwest Atlanta and throughout this country in the field of nutrition and holistic medicine. Thank you, sir, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to listen and learn from you. And I can't wait to see you in the pulpit again.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. God bless you, sir.
Thank you.